Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to another episode of the At Nerdvana Live podcast. I'm your host, Randy Pitchford. With me is Elisa Melendez, and we are coming at you on top of At Nerdvana Food Plus Spirits and At Nerdvana Coffee Plus Shop. I don't know if you guys can see in the camera, but it's a pretty full house today, and there's all these families playing board games in the coffee shop. It's
That's
pretty
so
awesome.
cool.
I love walking through there and seeing all the stuff that people play. We come here every week. I was off last week, so I'm glad to be back. Thank you you were hosting?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you for doing that, Elisa.
Holding it down.
Yeah, and it's going to happen from time to time. I'm going to travel. In fact, I just got back from traveling. My flight came in this morning.
Wow.
And I was actually at a magic convention
That's so cool.
over the weekend. And magic people are nerds too, just a different kind of nerd. We could talk about that if you want. But we're doing this. This is a live call-in show. There should be a phone number on the screen. There should be a Discord address on the screen so that if you're on the interwebs and have a microphone and speakers and you want to use Discord to call in, you could do that. If you're not familiar, Discord is basically a application that allows you to connect as if you're talking on a telephone, but you're not. You're talking on the internet. It's a chat app. And of course, telephones work. There's a call-in number. You can just dial it as if. Do you remember? I don't know if you have one of these kinds of devices. There's a whole family of these devices. I've got one. This is pretty awesome.
It appears to be a smart device.
It's got all kinds of cool applications on it. One of the applications that I don't use very often, but is on here, has this little green icon with a. I guess it's a handset. I think this is the telephone app.
Yep.
So this device does many things. Can launch any of these applications. I don't use this one that often, but you can use this one. You just click it, and you can get
type in a
yourself
series of
keypad,
numbers.
And you can type in a series of numbers, and those numbers are on the screen. And if you type those numbers and hit the little green headset icon,
You can talk to someone with your voice.
you'll hear a ringing sound, and then it'll pick up, and there'll be someone talking to you.
It's a very novel concept.
Pretty cool.
It's
Technology is amazing. It's incredible what we can do now. There's like an app for everything.
I know. Even to
There's
directly talk to a person.
There's an even app for using your phone like a phone. So cool.
Bizarre.
So anyway, we're here every week doing the live call-in show. It is live.
Super
That means
live.
Anything can happen.
And most things do.
Sometimes, it's fun to get live calls of people that want to talk about whatever. We're going to talk about some subjects. If you'd like to talk to us about anything nerdy, anything at all, you can use one of the means to connect with us, and we will have a conversation, or I can ask the questions. I can just interview you. We're going to have a special guest today.
Yay!
John St. John's going to be in the house. He's going to call in, and we're going to talk to the voice of Duke Nukem.
Whoa.
My understanding is that there's been some developments in the world of Duke Nukem this week, and
I know, I hadn't really noticed.
maybe we'll chat about those among other things. We're going to chat for a few minutes about a random topic, then we'll take your calls. You can call in now. You'll get in the queue. I generally give priority to earlier callers.
Yes.
That said, I do get a little note from the screeners about what you want to talk about, and sometimes I make preferential decisions based on that. But for the most part, I try to cover everybody based on how deep the queue is. That's how fast we'll go. And after, if you happen to be in North Dallas and you want to stop by and say hi, we're going to eat at Nerdvana at Nerdvana Food and Spirits.
Yes.
It's 5757 Main Street in Frisco, Texas.
Good old Frisco.
And last time I had the chicken fried steak, which holy crap, it's ridiculous. And this time, I'm not sure what I'm going to order, but I'm going to get, I invented a dessert. I don't know if I've already talked about it on the show.
Did you really?
It's on the menu. It's called S'mores Duval, or S'mores Duval, if you're pronouncing it correctly, which I don't. It happened when they were working on the menu for the restaurant, and they got to the desserts, and they said, "Hey, Randy, you got to come up with a dessert." And I said, "It's impossible." And why was it impossible, Randy? Well, everyone knows that the best dessert is s'mores, and you can't do s'mores in a restaurant.
Ooh.
Well, once I said the word can't, I internalized that. Went to sleep, woke up the next morning, and had an idea. And what it is it's a graham cracker crust, and then there's a layer of chocolate mousse, then there's a layer of marshmallow cream.
I like how you say layer. When you say layer, it implies a certain sort of thinness. It's
a parfait. It's like
giant chunk of chocolate mousse.
it's a parfait basically, and then the marshmallow cream is flambéed, so it's toasty.
It's pretty good.
And then they jam a graham cracker in it, and I think they put a little mint leaf. I had an idea last night to make it even better. Oh? Actually, it's not my idea. It was someone offered it to me, and I thought it was brilliant. I can't remember who offered it to me. Someone I was with live, and the idea was, what I said was, I think we should flambe it at the table. Maybe put some
that'd be fantastic.
Put some really flammable alcoholic substance that you can just light up.
Yeah.
So you imagine fire coming out of this thing at the table, and then someone said, well, if you're going to do that, you're going to need to give a little marshmallow on a skewer.
Oh, of course.
And so what if there was like a little cocktail skewer with 3 miniature marshmallows?
And then you
set those across the rim of the parfait, light it on fire, and then you're toasting your extra little marshmallows.
I love it.
This is what happens with idle time in my brain. And unfortunately, my idle time has not been. I haven't had very much. Idle time.
I was gonna say
we've been working a lot on some really exciting things at Gearbox Software. If you want to call in and talk about any projects from the past or try to pull something out of me for the future, you're welcome to try. But we can talk about all kinds of stuff. Hey, Elisa, what's on your mind? What should we start with?
So sometimes, this whole concept of time and not having a lot of it and or enough of it. There's a looking for your water. Okay,
I was going to take this moment while you're talking.
All right, you're properly hydrated. We
are
are good. A lot of things have a tendency to sneak up on me. And one of the things that kind of snuck up on me was it is Sunday the 28th. The Grammy Awards are tonight.
Oh, wow.
And
that's tonight.
Yeah, that's tonight. Right?
Yeah.
I had no idea. Usually I expect these things around mid-February, but okay, fine. Last Sunday in January. The Grammy Awards are tonight. And I was sort of thinking, I'm a musician, and I'm always interested in seeing kind of how people enjoy music and what kinds of music they enjoy. And I was like, I don't think I know what kind of music you like.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So this is going to sound lame, but I like everything. No, here's the thing. There is a category I don't tend to listen to a lot of, and that's country music.
Okay.
But I will say there are some country songs that I do appreciate. Mm-hmm. Let me look at I'm going to bring up Spotify right now. Let's look at my playlists. Right. And the last search I did was for a song from the 80s from a band called Missing Persons called Walking in L.A.
Oh.
Have you heard that? They were a new wave band. And Nobody Walks in L.A. That's the song. Okay, so my playlist let's see. I've got Christmas classics non-religious.
Cool.
There are 50 songs in this playlist.
All right.
I have a playlist
jams
titled Magic. There are 100 songs from Steppenwolf's Magic Carpet Ride to Coldplay singing Magic to let's see, Heart Magic Man. That's from the 70s. Little Kim Magic Stick. Huh? Right? This is an eclectic playlist, but every song has a magic theme to it.
That's fantastic.
Not all songs have the word magic in it. For example, I have from the Cinderella original motion picture soundtrack, Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo.
Oh, naturally.
Right. There's all kinds of wild, great stuff in
Cab
here.
Calloway, I Put a Spell on You.
Yeah, that's in here.
I
do have that. Yes.
Just making sure.
There's lots of, from This Magic Moment to Magic Bus from The Who. I have 3 as a magic number.
Wow.
But I have the Blind Melon version. I don't know if you know, like in the 90s, some alternative bands did remakes of all the old Schoolhouse Rock songs. But I have some other things like Donovan, Season of the Witch, and Pinball Wizard from The Who, and
Natch.
Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered from Ella Fitzgerald. It's a classic. Stevie Wonder, Superstition.
Oh, duh.
Okay, that's a long playlist. We don't have to get into it. Let's see.
I'm a sucker for a themed playlist.
I've got
so
a bunch of
appreciate
little
this.
playlists for Magic Acts. Like I've got a Randy Cube playlist. There's 2 tracks in there for this routine I do with a Rubik's Cube. Lindsay Bender's Tiki Hacked is on here for some reason. I've got Room Load for our theater, the Peacock Theater. Let's see. That has AC/DC Thunderstruck.
Nice.
Black Eyed Peas, I Got a Feeling. Tonight's gonna be a good... And then
It's a good
Start Me
kickstart.
Up.
Oh,
From
Natch.
Rolling Stones, right? So this is like get the room ready kind of music. I have a different Load Room playlist. And I've got 218 songs Nerdvana Coffee Housed.
Oh.
I was trying to do a playlist for Nerdvana Coffee. And I've got all kinds of shit in here from Ed Sheeran to Jack Johnson, the kind of stuff you'd think about playing in a coffee house. I've got Scott Bradley. Do you know who Scott Bradley is?
I don't.
Postmodern Jukebox.
Oh, nice.
Scott Bradley covers modern songs
Yeah.
with a very, almost like a older feel to it, you know? So I recommend listening to... their take on Iggy Azalea's what is it? What's that? What's the big
Fancy?
Yes.
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 You already know.
It sounds like a 1920s swing song.
Oh, that's
It's
fantastic.
amazing. I've got Crosby, Stills and Nash. I've got the Hamilton soundtrack.
Well, I mean, who doesn't?
I've got a whole karaoke playlist.
Ooh, okay. What is your signature karaoke song?
I've got a few that are go-to for me. But lately, the David Lee Roth version of I'm Just a Gigolo.
Oh.
I'm just a gigolo.
Why am I
and
not
everywhere I go, people passing by say...
That's fantastic.
I've got 95 songs from the Beastie Boys. I've got 112 songs from They Might Be Giants. I've got 36 Elvis songs. I've got a reggae playlist with
Your
60
tastes
songs
are
in it.
eclectic.
I've got a doo-wop playlist with 112 songs from the 50s and the 60s.
Look at that.
I've got classic rock. I've got old school hip hop. This is old school. Cars That Go Boom by Latrim. King of Rock, Run DMC.
Okay, now
Rappers
we're
Delight,
talking.
of course.
Well,
Sugar Hill
yeah.
Gang. Paid in Full. That's Eric B. and Rakim. Straight Outta Compton.
This
Boys
is
in the Hood, of
good
course.
stuff.
Going back to Cali. Rock the Bells from LL Cool J, of course. Rock the
fantastic.
House from DJ Jazzy Jeff. I performed that live at the Duke Nukem Forever launch party. We had DJ Jazzy Jeff
No.
playing live at the launch party. I performed Rock the House live with my buddy Greg Civiello from high school. I did the beatbox. He did the part
Oh my
of
gosh.
he did the part of the Fresh Prince, and of course, Jazzy Jeff was Jazzy Jeff. So it was pretty sick.
That's
I've got The
fantastic.
Adventures of Grandmaster Flash, White Lines, Sir Mix-a-Lot,
I mean, Natch.
Salt and Pepper,
It's a classic.
Biz Marquee.
Mm-hmm.
This is old school
This is good stuff.
old school hip hop.
This is good and like a very
And,
eclectic mix
yeah,
from
I told
you.
you it's all over the place.
This is
I've got
fantastic.
classical music. I've got piano. I've got a cocktail party playlist.
Oh, Natch.
You ought to be in pictures.
Oh.
Girl from Ipanema, Mac the Knife, Rosemary Clooney stuff, Peggy Lee stuff, Frank Sinatra, Billie Holiday, Dean Martin, all that crap.
So you have all
over the
sorts of
place.
classics.
Like
That's
literally,
fantastic.
I've got a Motown playlist, 61 Motown classics from "I Want You Back" to "My Girl" to "Baby Love."
One of these days, you're going to have to start sharing this gold on your Twitter account so we can jam out with you.
I've got a playlist called "Badass Guitar Riffs."
Oh, I'm going to need to.
The
You're-
opening song
Yeah.
is Seven Nation Army.
Yes.
Right? Bow, 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 bow,
All right, all
bow.
right.
Number 2 is E-Pro from Beck. You know that?
Oh, yes, yes. One of these days, we're going to have like a game show where we
Ram
where we
Jam's
play
Black
stuff.
Betty. I've got some gorillas
Just
in
identify
here.
it.
Some Fat Boy Slim. I've got Cake, The Distance.
That is an excellent song. That is an excellent song.
So that's just basically if you've got a badass guitar riff in your song, you're
Cool.
in that playlist. It's all over the place.
That's really cool, though.
And I do have a Johnny Cash playlist, so I betrayed my comment earlier about country because he's a little bit country, even if I'm a little bit rock and roll.
Yeah. Now,
so that is all over the place.
It is all over the place.
Did I sufficiently answer your question?
It really does because
there's
some people are kind of lean one genre or another, and some folks can be like, no, well, this is my favorite band, and this is just how I roll. But you are eclectic, the very definition of eclectic.
Yeah.
In terms of
I
your
didn't even
taste.
get into the classic rock playlist, but I got all kinds of good shit in there, from Led Zeppelin to Queen to frickin' Janis Joplin. That goes all over the place. I've been listening to a lot of Led Zeppelin lately.
Yeah.
I love Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
I love Led Zeppelin. And you know who else I've been listening to?
Who?
Greta Van Fleet. Do you know who these kids are?
I've heard a couple of their tunes, and I know why they are in the same conversation as Led Zeppelin, because it almost seems like the return.
They're channeling that. Yeah.
It's really cool.
Right on. Yeah.
Now, speaking of your Duke Nukem Forever launch party performance,
yes.
I do believe
I believe it's on YouTube.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can probably
I'm gonna have to
search
look
that
that up.
and watch me beatbox.
Yep.
Yep.
So that's
happening.
happening.
I don't know what search string will work, but another one of my friends was there with his iPhone and managed to grab it.
Yeah. But speaking of Duke,
Yeah.
I have a feeling we may have a special person to talk to.
Yeah. Are they here? Should we?
Yeah.
Should we?
I mean, we could get right into it. I don't know if I want to leave this man waiting.
Let's do it. Let's, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest, and it is the one, the only, John St. John.
Oh
I'm
my
going to get
gosh.
him on the phone.
Yeah, go ahead. Just click on
see
unmute.
if this works. Hey, John.
What exactly do you mean by special?
You're my special friend. How's it going, man?
Oh, here we go.
Why am I special? Oh, boy.
Well, we both ride the short bus, so.
Don't open that floodgate. Randy, you and I share a lot of similar playlists.
Are you kidding? That makes a lot of
I think you haven't
sense.
considered yet.
Tell me.
No. I have one I think you've not considered yet, and that's the Masturbate set, which includes great songs such as Turning Japanese by the Vapors.
Yes.
I Touch Myself, the
Yes.
Vinyls.
Okay,
Imaginary
can you
Lover,
forward this
Atlanta
set to
Rhythm
me?
Section.
Usually
I'm
going
to have to. Yeah,
Usually I can't have music for this for this experience. I have to focus like a ninja.
Yeah,
But
but
now
if you're
I'm
already holding
oversharing.
your smartphone up with your left hand anyway.
Now I'm oversharing. So, but hey, that sounds like a great playlist. What else is in there?
Oh, it's a good one.
My version of that, I'd have to add Madonna's "Like a Virgin."
Oh. Well.
But
Have it.
it's on there. It's already in the list.
Oh, yeah, it's in there.
I believe
They're
it.
all in there.
They're all the hits, all the great ones. All right.
Hey, when it comes to a masturbation playlist, I'm pretty damn thorough, I got to tell you.
Yes.
You gotta set the mood.
You've
I
got to
don't
be
miss a trick.
You've got to be careful, though. You don't want to get caught with another playlist. You don't want to get jealous of yourself. So, wow.
that, how are
Okay,
ya?
I don't know how to follow.
We are
that.
10 minutes into this thing, and already
We're already
have the great moments.
So, John, what's your now? You live in L.A., right?
Well, I'm San Diego, actually.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
the
Southern
air is
California.
blue here,
Yes.
not brown.
I see. I understand. I lived in Los Angeles for a while, and I can attest to that. So what's going on down there, man? You still doing radio stuff?
A lot. No, I don't do a whole lot of radio anymore. A lot of commercial work mostly.
Yeah.
I voice a lot of ad campaigns nationally, a lot of car dealership ads. That stuff mostly when I'm not, doing video games.
Right. Yeah. Now, aside from being Duke, one of the cool things, we did a project, man, it's been like 18 years. You did a lot of the soldier voices in Half-Life Opposing Force, including the drill sergeant voice, which was amazing. That was so much fun. You remember that? I'm going back.
I think that was my takeoff of Arlie Ermy,
That's
right?
correct.
Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, that was so good. You nailed it,
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
You
Yeah, that
killed
was a lot of fun. I love screaming in a studio for hours on end. It's great.
Yeah, that was that project did pretty well for us. We were terrified having to follow Half-Life with the the first follow-up game to it, and people seem to dig it, and they really dug that character. I'm not sure how many people realize that you voiced.
Yeah.
You voiced. What was the? Do you remember the character? I think it was Barnes, right? Dwight. Was it Dwight Barnes? Dwight T.
Dwight T. Barnes.
Yes.
I think there's also a doctor in that. Dr. Rosenberg. Does that ring any bells?
Yep. You did that. Yep. He was in Blue Shift. Too.
Yeah, I was the nerdy doctor.
Yeah.
From a nerdy doctor to a drill sergeant.
Yes.
Man. I've got range, right?
Yeah. I think you actually read one of the other soldier voices too. That was kind of a no-name soldier, but I'd have to go back and look. That was 18 years ago.
Yeah, I think the credit on that was additional voices.
Yes. Yes. Wow, man. So, what do you think of this? It's pretty crazy. Did you see the news? Yeah, you saw the news last week that some people got overly excited and leaked that they were having discussions about possibly being in a Duke Nukem movie. Did you see? You saw that news, right?
Yeah, man. I got real excited when I saw the news. I can't wait for Duke to hit the big screen in some form or fashion.
Yeah. You know what we got to do though? I noticed you talked about doing how great would it be to have a CG Duke Nukem? Like that,
right?
Because that
R-rated CG, Randy, R-rated.
You know what? One day when I don't know what it would take to convince a studio to finance that, but one day if I ever get notch money, we're just gonna say fuck it and blow it all and do that just for the hell of it, and maybe we'll find a new angle,
Absolutely, lots of CG titties and explosions. Oh yeah.
Oh man, I'll tell you the thing about this process. I don't know if you've kind of bounced in and off of Hollywood a bit your whole career, right? Like these guys, it is a trip. Like I think the odds of this film happening are who knows, right? But Paramount seems to be into it, and their studio, and that tends to increase the chances because. They've got the dough, right? They got the muscle, and I think the default expectation is it's gonna if it happens, it'll be a movie based on a video game, which means it's gonna suck. But I don't know. I mean, we'll see how much I can get involved in the thing and how much I can steer it along. We're supposed to have some approvals along the way. And I don't know. I do know this though, John. I do know that. If a big studio gets behind a Duke movie and they put a big budget behind it and market the damn thing, that's probably good for both you and me, right? That's the way I'm thinking. Anyway. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. I don't know. I will say
my
this.
only concern is that with live action,
yeah.
Traditionally the video game movies gone live action have not done that well. But if you look at movies like Wreck-It Ralph, for instance,
yeah,
they do great.
Yeah.
Because, CG it's a world where you can do anything, and Duke needs that kind of world. Just my opinion.
I absolutely agree, and I think we should do. I'd love to do a CG something down the road. I don't have the means to do it myself, and believe me, I've tried to talk some people into it. There have been a couple of folks that have been interested in doing Duke Nukem as like an animated television series, but there's no real venue for that, right? There's no.
Have to be on
I don't
HBO.
know. I don't know where. Like, it can't be a Saturday.
It can only be on Adult Swim.
Yeah, right.
Right before Toonami or something.
It can't be on. Yeah, it can't be on. It's not a Saturday morning cartoon. Right?
No.
So, but in Adult Swim, I don't know if I love the content on there, but these aren't exactly high budget productions. Not that matters, but the people that we've talked to so far have been sincere, but I don't know. It just seems like it's a hard job. It's a really hard job. So I'd love to see it happen. Yeah, but you need to get the right partners. At some point,
you got to try to get a foot in the door, I think. Yeah. Can we get at least a Duke action figure on the fucking robot chicken or something? Come on.
That sounds like a plan. Hey, maybe I can.
Yeah, there you go.
You know what? I have an angle for that. That was a good idea. I might have an angle for that. Yeah, so let me tell you, I've been learning something, by the way, because I don't know if you know this, but we're making a Borderlands movie. And that one is much
Yeah.
farther along in the process. The studio is Lionsgate, who have been an absolute joy to work with. And the production company is called Arad Productions. And I'm not sure if you've ever heard the name Arad before, but Avi Arad ran Marvel Studios. And they did Spider-Man and then X-Men and Iron Man and the Avengers. And they kind of figured out how to make big blockbuster movies out of those comic books. And now there are New Frontiers trying to do the same thing with video games. And they think Borderlands would be a good universe to do it in. And so that's where that bet is. And there's been a couple of great iterations on scripts that are being developed. I really like the script that we've got now, and we're about to do another iteration, which I think will improve it even more. We've got a director involved. That project is really progressing beautifully. But one of the things I've learned, this is something that Ari Arad told me. He said, when with video games, especially the video games that have kind of realism, the audience tends to have an idea in their head of what the actor needs to look like when you go to live action. But with comic books, that wasn't the case. And that's one of the reasons why they think Borderlands will really help, because there's the cartoon kind of art direction doesn't lead you to a specific human look necessarily. And I think that's one of the reasons why cosplay with Borderlands works so well. I've noticed, even though Duke sometimes has a somewhat realistic rendering, his roots, I think his most memorable history is more of a cartoon rendering. Yeah. And that's why I think Duke Nukem cosplay works. So I think Duke has a chance. I don't know who will end up playing the guy. I think, it's a bit early. And I'm still trying to figure out what my involvement in that's going to be. But I do think that that there's a better chance that it might not suck as bad as some of the other ones on the point of character, just because I think we'll be a little more open to different physical looks for Duke. I'll tell you this though. I don't think we can have a Duke Nukem movie if you're not in it in some way, John. I think you've got to have a cameo. Get you in there somehow. We've got to do this.
Yeah, I'll be the Stanley cameo. I'll be the old pervert.
I love this.
On a hooker or something. Right?
Oh, wow. I love it.
Perfection.
I got to defend my whole R-rated CG campaign here.
Do it.
If Duke was done as a CG movie instead, he'll look exactly as he did in the game.
That's true. That's that option.
And he'll sound exactly as he did in the game. That's why I go, it's not about me having a part or a role to make money with. It's about keeping the character alive and true to who he is.
Yeah. No, I definitely think that.
But here's another angle, too, that I figured. You know what, Randy? A lot of people had, the old misogynistic womanizer Duke Nukem in the 90s is not going to play well today. Well, imagine if he had a sidekick. And let's just imagine that voice was, I don't know, H. John Benjamin, because I like him. And this kick, the whole joke, the ring joke is, Duke, no, we got to get you up to date, man. You can't act like that anymore. You can't grab ass. You got to do it this way.
Yeah, that could be
and make that part of the humor of the film, and bring Duke into the modern landscape of what's going on, and then he can continue to be a relevant character into the future without being that misogynistic womanizer.
I think that's an interesting strategy.
In this day of sexual harassment and such.
Yeah, no, I think that's an interesting strategy if you're doing a contiguous kind of story where we're treating the past as canonical and moving forward from that in a linear way.
And perpetuating the character down the road.
Typically, movies, like all the comic book treatments, they tend to start with some kind of origin story, right? I don't know that this will be an origin story. I don't know that. We haven't developed a script yet, but it's possible that happens. The other thing that happens too, when you have a character-centered franchise, it is possible to just do reinventions as you go. For example, the James Bond character. Right. With each new actor that's portrayed James Bond, there has been a bit of an evolution and a reinvention. The James Bond played by Daniel Craig is a very evolved character from where Sean Connery first played him, which is a different character
Yeah,
than how he was
killed
written.
the damn franchise. Thank you. Did not care for Daniel Craig as James Bond at all.
I'll tell you what, though,
Ugh.
I did like. I think I liked the least selling of. Well, actually, I don't have the box office numbers in front of me, but my hypothesis is that of the Daniel Craig pictures, that the most recent one, which was Skyfall, right?
Or Spectre?
Sorry,
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
That's right. Spectre was the most recent. I think that was. I don't know. I don't have the numbers in front of me. If someone knows, I'm happy to be corrected. But I think that was the least successful of them so far. And but that was the one I actually liked the most. To me, it felt like a prequel to You Only Live Twice. And I think it was meant to be a prequel to...
I'm just sorry that Pierce Brosnan couldn't keep on the character. He played the best Bond since Connery.
It was pretty good.
Yeah. Each of them kind of brought something. Remember George Lazenby? No.
Wow.
No one does. Yeah,
Barely.
They all brought something. I have different feelings about Pierce Brosnan. I got kind of hoodwinked into making a James Bond video game, and we signed up to do basically a retelling of the You Only Live Twice in the Connery era. And we barely get into pre-production, and EA's like, okay, we're changing everything. We just found out when the new movie's happening, and it ended up being called Die Another Day. So this was like 2 years out. So we had to like race and change everything. And they're like, sorry, read your contract, dude. You're fucked. You got to do what we say. And so we ended up having to do it ended up being called James Bond Nightfire. Pierce Brosnan's on the cover, and it was release day and date with the Die Another Day film, which was okay. I mean, it was
A little bit of a sore spot there, huh?
yeah, a little bit. And by the way, at the end of that experience, after that was over, I said, never again will I do a video game based on a movie property. And I should have listened to myself. I'll just leave it at that. But I'll tell you,
could have been worse, man. You could have had to do some Roger Moore era freaking campy fucking song.
You know what's funny though? I agree with you. Like as an adult, as an adult rewatching all the James Bond movies, no doubt about it. But I saw The Spy Who Loved Me when I was a kid in the theater, and that was.
And I love those movies.
Yeah.
And Moonraker, I'd have been a kid. Now they're so stupid.
Yeah, and it worked, but it worked for me as a kid, man. I was totally into it. The Lotus with the alarm system that just exploded the car when the guy tried to open it, like that was great. And I wanted a Lotus for a while.
Oh man, Barbara Bach in a bikini. What are you talking about?
I was in puberty, so yeah. Hey, can you get me that masturbation playlist you were talking about?
I got a couple of years on you, don't I?
I need that masturbation playlist.
I'll see myself out.
Come on, girls masturbate too.
Meanwhile, my husband's running tech. Like I am absolving myself from the.
We are off the rails. Hey, let me ask you a question. Do you want to stay on the line and I want to see if I can take one of these callers. This guy wants to ask a question about Borderlands, but
let's take a call.
I just want to see.
Let's see if it works.
I'm not sure if this is going to work.
It.
This might drop you, but this is the first time trying it.
Let's try it.
I'm going to try it and see what happens.
Okay, I'll still be watching you on the big screen. It's okay. Go ahead.
All right, let's see what happens. I'm gonna hit this button.
Oh
and
boy,
we're gonna do this.
I'll cross my fingers.
Yeah, let's see.
Oh!
Hey, this is Randy. Is this Kitru? Kitru.
Yes, it is.
Hey, check it out. It worked. Hold on. Kitru, you're there, correct? Say yes.
Yes, I am.
I'm still here, Todd.
And John St. John is there.
Oh my
and
gosh.
Elisa's here and Randy's here.
Whoa.
This is magic. We're living in the future.
Technology is on our side today, by God.
So Kitru, you're live on the air with Randy and Elisa and John. How can we help you, sir?
Yeah.
So I kind of have a question that I kind of want to segue into a broader topic of conversation. So,
Let's see what happens.
I've been replaying Borderlands
Cool.
with a friend of mine, and I'm mechanically inclined. Lisa will tell you. And so I was bringing up how the tech pool system in Borderlands how that was implemented, and how there's like no clue of it on the surface. Like
You're
in
talking-
the Spark Helix that says
You're talking about
high chance.
Borderlands
It increases
1?
the chance of it. Borderlands 1, yes.
Uh-huh.
How text will, and then so it's this really weird kind of obscure system that there's really any reference to it on the outside. You have to dig into the system to figure it out, and it's really weird, especially since like in Borderlands 2 you kind of simplified it and made it a lot more obvious. So
Yes.
kind of the major question is, how did TechTool, why did you decide to do that instead of the much more the much simpler and more, what I would say, tacitly obvious tech system that was used in Borderlands 2?
Well, Borderlands 2 came after Borderlands 1, so we had to learn some lessons to get there, right? We had to evolve to that. Yeah. I'll tell you, Borderlands 1 conceptually started on many, many vectors, a lot more complicated. And as we developed the game, we sort of simplified things. And in some places we didn't go all the way to get to that maximum level of accessibility that you kind of hope for when you're developing. But there's this tendency with game designers, and I will count myself guilty, where we tend to over-simulate. For example, let me tell you about my first design for the Badass system that we put in Borderlands 2. You would get a Badass token, and then you could spend the token on the slot machine style game that would spin 3 wheels, and then you'd have 3 face down cards. They would flip, and then you'd pick one of those 3. Now we kind of simplified that, but that kind of lotto kind of slot machine gameplay I was really interested in, and it turned out to be just too time consuming of an experience when you've amassed many badass tokens. Like, even as it is, if you end up with a big pile of them before you spend them, it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And I sort of imagined them coming at a more of a trickle, and that each player would use them the moment they got them, and that's not the way they ended up happening in practice. So the simplification really helped, I think. But even still, I'm not perfectly happy with it. Like, I think that one needs to evolve some more. Sometimes we simplify and optimize things out. Like, there are some crazy hardcore gamer types that are disappointed that Borderlands 2 removed the weapon proficiencies. Do you remember those?
Well, no, yeah, I remember that. That was another thing I was talking about with a friend of mine. I can see why you removed it, because to me, I disliked the provision system because it discouraged you from using different weapons.
That's right. Yeah, you nailed it.
If you leveled up if you leveled up with using a shotgun and you got a really awesome sniper rifle, there was reason to not use the sniper rifle.
So. Absolutely. So let me take a moment, because I'd like to get deeper into this conversation, but let me take a moment. So, John St. John, this is the Nerdvana podcast, and sometimes we get really nerdy on detailed stuff in games. If at any time, if you start,
I got that feeling.
If you start snoring, I'll just mute you. If you want to drop off at any time because you're just bored out of your goddamn mind, I will absolutely understand. But I thought I'd just give you a little
I'll
heads
just
up.
chime in every once in a while with, "I'll rip your head off and shit down your neck."
Yay.
Perfect. I think that would make everyone very happy.
Yes.
There you go.
Hey, what should be by the way, sorry, Kitru, let's, John, what do you think the next soundboard should be? You remember the balls of steel, right? Balls of steel. What do you think the next one should be? Oh, I had an idea.
The next soundboard.
By the way, while you're stewing on that, let me tell you about this idea I had for a Duke Nukem game, multiplayer, where if you kill another player and you do you know what the teabag move is? You walk up to their dead body and crouch on them.
Yeah.
So if the game knows this is happening, it will play Balls of Steel. And if you spam the crouch button, it will just reset the soundboard each time. So you can go balls of steel. I can't do the voice. Only you can do it. But that was my idea. Just work it into the design.
Now you're done.
There's so many people that are going to clip this section of the podcast out and just use that as a ringtone, and that pleases me.
I hope so. They shouldn't use me. They should go back to the original file from John. Anyway, oh, sorry. Go ahead. You were going to say what do you think the soundboard could be, and then I'm going to come back to Kitru. Don't go away, Kitru. We're going to get we're going to get nerdy, dude. We're going to get into it.
Oh boy.
Don't go away. Okay. So
I'm still here.
Cool. So John, so what?
How about cooking tips from Duke?
Okay.
I want
you got to give me a sample.
Yeah, you keep it out at the grill when you're barbecuing, and Duke will chime in and go, "Flip it, asshole." Flip your meat. Time to turn the meat, you dick. Okay, maybe not. Maybe not. I'm just spitballing here. Come on.
Hey, man, this is sometimes where genius is born.
I didn't know how much I wanted a Duke cooking show until now. Just a version of Great British Bake Off, but with Duke.
Oh my God. This would be really, really good.
I never knew how much I needed that until just now.
Like Duke is the judge of like a celebrity cooking show.
Or like a contestant, like a celebrity cooking competition.
Your
That'd be so
meat,
good.
your veggies, what's the difference? I don't know, man. All right, hey Kitru, let's
I like
go.
it.
Let's get back to it, man. All right, so where are you taking
season
me?
those steaks, then you hit the space bar and Duke goes, "Shake it, baby."
Yes.
All right, Kitru, you were gonna take us down a path. Where are we headed?
Oh boy.
Well, so kind of the segue for that was kind of into the idea of like mechanical transparency in games,
Yeah.
and it's kind of a larger topic that I've had with a lot of people because like tech pool system is completely unmentioned on the back end of Borderlands 1.
Yep.
Like there's no mention of it anywhere. Like even Spark, which increases tech pool size and regeneration, specifically says increases chance of elemental effect occurring.
Yep.
Which it doesn't actually have anything to do with that. And it kind of led to this discussion along with a lot of
Yep.
it kind of says that I started talking with other developers about how like they'll hide stuff from players because they don't want the players to see the numbers because they want them to make decisions with looking at numbers because they think that's more fun.
Sometimes, yeah.
And then you have people like me who will go into the numbers because I like the numbers.
Yeah,
like the numbers are what I enjoy.
They're always min-maxers, and there's a percentage of every audience that kind of is into that. I will say it's not that we don't want people to play with the numbers. It's not like hey, let's keep it from them. It's more about trying to find that accessible way to present. I remember the very first item card UI we had it like filled up the entire screen in 480p. It just had so many stats, and in user testing, it was a disaster. Like it just didn't work. And so we had to kind of figure out, and things came from that iteration process, like the little green or red arrow on a stat that'll tell you if a stat is better or worse than what you're currently equipped with. And we kind of found that most players want to kind of go fast. They want to get the shorthand version. And so the trick as game designers is to simultaneously make the game accessible to the player that is a little more casual about it, while also both creating and providing access to the extreme depth that min-maxers and data folks love. And by the way, all of the game designers are those kinds of guys. All 100% of the game designers are the data guys. Like, we're nuts. We're crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that's kind of what I'm talking about is like it was a really good example where you the City of Heroes.
Mm-hmm. I played. Yeah, I played it. Yeah, I did not. I did not achieve any mastery in the game, but I did play it.
Okay, so this is I think it's like the best example of it because Jack was really famous for saying that one of the reasons why if you play the game, just kind of give people a really basic thing for this, all the powers. The descriptors were like damage, low, minor, like really vague categories that had no actual reference to reality. Like a power could say high damage, and it could do less damage than a moderate damage attack from another power set.
Sure.
They were really vague.
Yeah,
cooldown numbers. The descriptors were worthless, and people said, "Well, we want actual numbers."
And relative, it was. I remember it was kind of each thing was relative to itself, not relative to everything else, and that was a bit confusing.
Yeah. And Jack Emmert, when people talked about that. He said, well, we don't want to give people numbers because then they'll make decisions based upon those numbers, not based upon what they want to use. And it created a really big problem whenever people would notice that this guy's character is way more powerful than mine because he did all this work to get into the numbers, and I didn't, and so now I can't make any. One thing I've noticed is that if you don't have really good transparent numbers, it increases the gap between casual players and hardcore players because hardcore players will always find the numbers. We always find the numbers. That's what we do.
One thing though, one thing you have to remember though in Borderlands is unlike City of Heroes, there is a skill component to the simulation, and the simulation is, at the end of the day, it's physics based. So there are factors more than the numbers that play into the effectiveness of, say, a gun, right? I realize you can have a shotgun that has a interesting spread that could be more or less effective than a different shotgun that might have slightly better numbers of the numbers that are exposable. Right. I don't know what way we can expose in numerical form the spread pattern.
Well, and because this is more of a general thing about the industry as a whole, not specific to Gearbox.
Sure.
In FPSs, you can't really do it as well in FPS because there is that skill component.
Yeah, skill component and the physical simulation. The physical simulation, right? Refire rate matters in a much different way in a game where you're kinetic and you're moving and you're aiming than it does in a game where the hit percentage is assured and the shot's going to go off on the timer, right?
Well, like one thing that I know I and others that have played Battleborn as well as Borderlands games have asked for is like actual active tracking of your current like total modifiers to things.
Yeah.
It's like to see how things stack, to see how things interact, and that's one that it's really, really useful to see it. And because another really good one is damage reduction in the Borderlands series is all weird. Yeah. Because it uses the inverted system with 1 divided by 1 plus DR number.
Yep.
Which I can understand why it was done because that's a good way to balance. That way you can 100% DR isn't I can't take damage, it's I take half damage. But it's also really worth saying like you get 75% DR, which sounds really good, but it translates into like 35% reduced damage taken.
Yeah. I mean, look, some of these things too. And the other thing you have to like remember with Borderlands 2, it is primarily a PvE simulation, and we have this kind of rigid, like strictly defined like player growth RPG thing going on, and then we're presenting it in a world where we're just sort of pre-baking the enemy, the enemy strength, and we've got to make it accessible to the casual player somehow, right? So some of those algorithms are really about dealing with the difference in damage between where the player's at the player's level and where the enemy's at is at the enemy's level. I think if we made Borderlands we lost John. We lost him. We can add this. We can, hey John, we just discovered a new playlist.
This is so good.
We discovered a new playlist for your music. It's the sounds to fall asleep by. The sounds to fall asleep by, and we could just record our podcast.
Yes. My masturbation set works just fine for that.
This is everything.
No disrespect to the other caller. I'm sorry. I just,
Yeah, I knew that. I knew that would happen.
I'm entirely used to people being bored out of my soul when I go this deep into stuff. Because this is really interesting to me, but I realize it's not interesting at all to like most of the people I talk to.
You know what, though? Here's the thing, though.
I wish I understood half of what you guys are talking about.
I'll tell you what, though, Kitru. Let me just, and I'm being a little. This isn't a hard number, but let me guess that the percentage of our customers that are into the numbers like that is around 4%. But you know what? When we reach 20 million people,
that's a lot of people.
That is a lot of dudes. That's like 1 million dudes.
Oh yeah.
It's like
Well,
a
see,
million
I think
dudes.
that's a
Nerd
bit
Nation.
reductionist of a number because, like, there might be only 4% of people that dive that deep into the numbers. A lot of people do take the casual approach of, like, okay, what's the best thing to do here? And they benefit tangentially from the
Sure,
hardcore number
sure.
crunchers who basically say, this is they give the advice.
Yeah.
We are the advice
and
because we're the ones that do the number. Hey, provably this is it.
But you understand.
And so there is
By any
that.
chance, you guys, is there a Borderlands or Borderlands 2 esports tournament?
Well, there's no competitive mode really. I mean, you can duel, but it's not.
Yeah,
it's not. There are some people that do speed
Borderlands 2
runs.
is
Yeah.
not
No
bound.
team play.
Yeah, there's. It's all team play. It's all co-op, but there's no competitive
Yeah.
play. You're not playing against other people.
Yeah.
Some people have done speed runs,
Yeah.
and there's a bit of a competition around who can get through certain things the fastest.
Yeah, and the community also puts together something called the loot hunt, where
Yeah.
basically they assign point values to different rare
That's
weapons, and so it's however many you can collect that assigns. That's kind
Yeah.
of one way that they
Yeah.
compete amongst themselves.
That would be, that's something we
That's
should
where your
look
real
at.
hardcore gamers are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And so here's the thing: even though it might be 4%, even though it might be 4%, to add even more weight to the point you were trying to make, even though it's 4%, that 4% is a million people when you get, numbers as large as we have with the Borderlands franchise, and that 4% is very interested. They're very engaged, so they're a more valuable 4% than some of the other 4%. But you're right about there is some, if that 4% can do some work which makes some information accessible to others, then that 4% becomes valuable to more larger than 4%.
Right.
That's interesting. But one thing that you have to fundamentally, I want to get this point out. One thing you have to fundamentally acknowledge, though, is, and I think you said it earlier, in a first-person shooter where it's a physics simulation and it is skill-based, the efficacy of a tool cannot be reduced down purely to numbers. The efficacy of the tool can have to do with things that are not able to be represented in numbers at all.
Well, yeah, I remember a really good example because when you talk about number crunching in Borderlands 2, there's the Flacker, which is this insanely powerful shotgun that has a very, very niche use. That when people some people that get good with Flacker can destroy everything with it.
That's right.
I can't use it for anything. Like, it is worthless to me.
Yeah. And
I recognize that.
There are some really odd weapons, and there's some weapons that do interesting things that are super fun, and there's some, but their stats don't necessarily look great, and there's others that are exceptionally useful, but only in certain combinations.
Right.
Like if you equip this gun with that shield, then you get a stacking effect. Or if you equip this gun with this particular character class, with this particular skill tree build out, then it becomes super effective.
One of my favorite combos is one of my favorite combos in that context is Age with a Type 3 Fibber in the Anarchist tree.
Yep. And that's a classic.
Gage has the shot ricochets. Fibber 3, whenever it ricochets, it turns into like 9 bullets.
Right. Now imagine
and you can do disgusting things with it.
Yeah. Now, but that weapon doesn't look that great when it's just dropped at that level. Like if you only look at the the item card stats. And that's the thing that's kind of where we start to wonder, are we hurting players by putting, like, what stats should we really put? Like, a part of me wonders if we shouldn't just put our thumb on the scale and maybe do like we'll put a bunch of stats, maybe even more stats than we've done in other things, but maybe we should also consider something that's really meta, like item value, right? Like an item value number that MMOs tend to do.
Right.
And this doesn't have to just be a sum of the stats. This could be a number where it might be a sum of the stats, but it might also include a thumb on the scale kind of thing, where we can account for those peculiar combinations and other utility that might be outside of the scope of stats, but in the scope of skill and physics simulation.
Like a lot of like red text. And that's one of the things that with Borderlands, whenever I was playing for Borderlands the first time, there's a lot of red text gear.
So, by the way,
because of all the blue drops.
I'll drop something. I don't know if anybody knows this, but inside Gearbox, we call that flavor text. We don't use the term red text. We use the term flavor text. Red text is great because it's red, but it kind of screws us if we ever want to change the color.
Yeah. I mean, I like red, so you know.
It's like I realize it's flavor text, but it's indicative of it having some weird special.
We
mechanic attached to
do
it.
sometimes give clues in the flavor text, but sometimes we just tell jokes in the flavor text.
Yeah. You don't need no water.
Yeah.
Dot dot dot.
You might lose a toe. The very first one, you might lose a toe, right?
Like for the like the flavor text, basically, it's part of the thing is it displays the wrong stuff.
Yes, sometimes.
And you kind of have to, when you first get it, if you're trusting the tooltip,
Yeah.
you can't trust the tooltip.
Yeah,
because it will say wrong thing.
And I've joked inside the studio.
I've
joked inside the studio once we realized that there was no possible way. Like as we were simplifying, there were some efforts where we removed data, just removed it. Like we didn't just remove the presentation of it, we just removed the data. And then there's certain points where no, this whole house of cards falls apart, so we're gonna have to leave the data but not present it. And once we were starting to get into that world, there was a few people that I kind of created this thought with. You know what? Maybe we'll end up in a place where this stuff is more like religion than science, and there's something to that, where and there's almost a fun and there's got to be some the universe works. I don't exactly know why lightning bolts happen. It's probably not Zeus. Let me go check this out and figure this out. And there's some and that's where all the discoveries come from. And look at the discoveries that the community's been able to make because of that.
Like a good example of that happening is remember in Borderlands 2, the Tiny Tina DLC, the amulet you can buy.
Yeah.
That does nothing.
Yeah.
It's crazy expensive. All the time, people were like, does it do it? It got to do something.
That's just us trolling, dude. Sometimes,
and
you know what? Sometimes our developers are trolls too. And we're dicks sometimes. I can't.
You really know how to piss off your fan base.
Here's the thing. I can't.
Well,
these games are massive.
People like Gearbox. We tend to like Gearbox because.
Go ahead.
Gearbox likes doing that. I think we expect it. We expect Gearbox to troll us on occasion because.
Yeah.
It's very on brand.
It's one of the things like on the company. We expect them to troll us on occasion because, we troll Gearbox on occasion.
That's right. It's part of the give and take.
Turnabout is fair play.
It's part of the relationship, I guess. Yeah, and and here's the thing too. Our studio is such. Our designers, our developers have tremendous autonomy. We start with broad strokes, and my own focus, as a project goes on, it gets narrower and narrower in line with my specialization. But we have a whole studio full of people from all different kinds of interests and backgrounds that have different specializations, and it's not like there's no blueprint. We're kind of making the blueprint while we're building the thing and constantly rewriting the blueprint, and everyone's got a pencil at the drafting table, and it's really interesting how that unfolds. And sometimes we get ideals that even conflict with one another in the game. It's really interesting.
Yeah. Well, but it's not a purely thing, because sometimes you do get the whole issue of there is the designed by committee.
Yeah, there's no committee. There's not really a committee. Like an individual, the rule that we say is, they who build it wins, and it's really just look, we can debate what should be built. Why don't just get off your ass and build something, throw it in there, and if it lives, it lives. And that's why you have so much personality. Yeah, that's why you have so much personality in Gearbox games, right? Because individual developers are just letting their personalities come through and feel the freedom and the autonomy to do that.
It's pretty cool.
And what it means too, though, is I don't know. Actually, I don't know everything that's in our games. There are huge parts of our games where I have blind spots because they're just big games, and we have so many awesome people contributing to them. And that's the thrill for me. For me, I want to go to work not at a place where I'm dictating everything. I want to go to work where people are just blowing my mind every day, which is amazing stuff. And I feel like I've got to step up to hold my ground with these dudes. So, and by the way, when I say the word dude,
it's a gender neutral dude.
We have lots of great women at the studio that I just call dude as well, and it just sort of happens.
Yeah, don't you call your wife dude?
Sometimes I have, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
She'll
yeah. There you go.
It's gender neutral usage.
Yeah, exactly. Like there is a thing that happens. Like we'll be playing a board game and she'll just wreck me and I'll be like, really, dude?
Really, dude? My dude.
Yeah. So that happens.
Dude is one of those words that can just convey different meanings just based on inflection.
I think that
Dude.
started with me around The Big Lebowski.
Yeah, just remember, Randy, every once in a while you have to use that as a positive, not a negative connotation. Really, dude? You're interrupting my game.
Really, dude?
Yeah, no, it can be positive. I mean, it started, like I said, it started with the Big Lebowski. Do you remember that movie?
Oh,
And I'm talking about the dude, man.
The dude.
Hey,
Awesome.
Kitru, it's been awesome.
That's all an inflection.
Yeah, it is. Hey, Kitru, it's been really awesome talking to you, man. Thanks for calling in. Did you have anything else, or can I let you go?
Oh, he always has something else.
Well, are you going to be eating at the Nerdvana after the show?
I am. Are you around? You want to come by and say hi?
I'm actually here with a friend of mine. So we're
Are you in the
restaurant?
Are you in the coffee shop or are you in the bar?
Yes, we are.
Nice.
Yes, we are.
I'm turning
We're
around
in the
right
coffee shop
now.
right now.
Yeah. Come over and say hi at the window. We will wave at you.
Outside. I will come wave to you.
Okay, yeah.
All right, good.
If you come in, you can wave at us through the glass. I'll turn around here in a second. I'll say goodbye. All right. Take it easy, man.
See you later.
All right, bye.
Oh yeah, there he is.
Can we see him on
Hey.
the screen? There he is.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Sweet.
That's the first time that's ever
realized
happened.
you could have done this from
Yeah.
home.
That is the first time that's awesome. Where someone that's been talking to us
Yeah.
live has actually been right there. That's crazy.
Yeah. We do have someone on.
Is it awesome, or is he
Well,
actually stalking Elisa?
I
I
think he's stalking me.
Yeah, defo.
That's at least what I need to think in order to feed my fragile ego.
Yes.
Um,
So
hey, should we try? Oh, did you want to bring something?
no,
up,
we
or?
have someone on Discord actually.
Oh, you
that's
wanna do
that's
this?
ready.
Okay, well, let me look at the. Hold on, let me look at the. How do I do this?
If you go to the screener notes.
How do
Stream on your end?
You are now in the screener room.
That's
Yeah,
not.
there you go.
Okay,
We're
hold
cool.
on. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Let's see.
All the way
Here's
at
a
the bottom.
disclaimer for any callers who are phoning in right now. There is a bit of a delay.
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Be
Hey.
aware.
Hey.
to know.
You should stay on, John, because I'm going to take a couple of callers back to back. One from Discord and one that's a call in. Both of them want to talk about Duke Nukem.
This will be interesting. I
So,
don't know if
this caller is Glenn from Denmark. Let's try
yeah.
this.
We're gonna see if John, you'll be able to hear them. That's actually a really interesting.
Hey,
thing,
Glenn,
but
can
we'll
you
see.
hear me?
Hello. Yes.
You are
Loud and
live.
clear.
You are live on the air. Hey, John, can you hear Glenn?
This will be
I
interesting.
can hear you, but I can't hear Glenn.
Oh, okay.
Oh, far out.
Right, because we're using two
Okay, well,
different platforms. Here,
And
but
I don't know what the lag is, John, but if you want to hear Glenn, you're probably gonna have to listen to it through your feed.
it might be like 30 seconds,
So this is cross-platform.
but we'll feed it to you.
Glenn,
feed it
My
to you.
headphones.
Glenn is calling in from Denmark via Discord, and you are on the main lines. So, Glenn, John can't hear you over the lines. He can hear you through the stream, so he'll hear you on a bit of a delay. Glenn, what's on your mind? What do you want to talk about?
Well, I was interested about the movie stuff.
Yeah.
Because personally, I think that if Duke should be put in a movie, full-length movie, then CG is the only way.
Yeah, I'll tell you there's I think there can be. I think that's. I don't know if that's true that it's the only way, but I think that a CG Duke movie will be awesome. Unfortunately, we don't have any clear way to have that created right now. But we do have a situation where Paramount Pictures and Platinum Dunes are very excited to take a swing at a live-action Duke Nukem. And one of the things about the Platinum Dunes team, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this production company. It's Michael Bay's production company, and Michael Bay is pretty good at explosions. And they do the Transformers movies.
Yeah.
They also do
Yeah.
they also do Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
That they
and
do?
they're kind of they're like hybrid CG.
Yeah, that's
Right?
true.
So I'm like, there's a lot of ways this can go, and their goal isn't it's CG. It's like their goal is to make a big motherfucking movie, right? Like they want to make lots of fans very happy. They want to make the biggest spectacle on the silver screen that they can make, and they've got the chops to do it. And Paramount Pictures has the muscle. So, like, I could say
here, though, of course, is that they make a film that will appeal to the mainstream, because not everybody in the world who enjoys film is a Duke Nukem fan, and not everybody in the video game world is a Duke Nukem fan. It's really going to become mainstream.
That's right. Yeah,
they're going to have to tone it down.
Yeah. So right now, Glenn, that was John St. John talking. If you are if you're listening to your feed, you could hear him through the feed, but you can't hear him live because of the disconnect between Discord and the call-in. But what Glenn was talking about was when you make a live action picture, and with the scale of these guys trying to do, it's really trying to reach a mass audience, right? They're trying to reach people that might not be fans of Duke Nukem yet. They might not have played the video games. In fact, there's a lot of video game players that might not be playing Duke Nukem video games, but might check out this movie. And if the movie is A, big enough, and B, interesting enough, there is a chance that we can create some new Duke Nukem fans from it. And I hope that's the case. And some of those Duke Nukem fans might then discover the video games, and they will want more. And that creates demand that's very, very good for people like me and you and John St. John, frankly. People that are fans that want more video games, and people like me that want to make more. Yeah.
Want to keep Duke alive.
I noticed that other games, especially on PlayStation 2, for example, and also PlayStation 4, sorry. Like, for example, Ratchet and Clank, I think also there was another game when they actually made a movie that followed alongside the game.
Yeah. The Ratchet and Clank movie didn't really reach a mainstream, though.
Huh.
And it was CG, but it didn't reach a mainstream. And I don't think they got a bump. I don't think that helped the franchise at all reach people that it hadn't already reached. I think the only people that were interested in that movie were people that already loved Ratchet and Clank. And so I think there is a movie that should be made for Duke like that. But that isn't this bet. This bet is Platinum Dunes and Paramount Pictures bringing Duke to the masses that haven't yet discovered him. And if they make an interesting enough story, perhaps some of those people will become like us and discover how fun the franchise is and why it is that Duke Nukem can do things in his video games that no other character in any other video game can do, and why that's so much fun.
Yeah, and there's the key to the whole thing, too. It all comes down to the script. It's got to be a great story.
Yes. And that's going to be the catch. Now, one of the things about a lot of these video game movies, not a lot of them are good. And I'm using good in the critical acclaim kind of. Very few of them get any positive critical acclaim, but some of them make lots of money. Some of them do make lots of money, and some of them actually develop a fan base. So you can find people that can argue, for example, that the Tomb Raider films weren't good. I might be among them. But there are people that absolutely love those films and discovered Tomb Raider through those films, and that's pretty neat.
And they're making a new one.
Yeah,
so.
and I'll tell you, I remember when Tomb Raider was king of the video game world. It was around the same time Duke Nukem was. Like Duke Nukem was king, and maybe Lara Croft was queen. If we have to be gender specific, but these two characters were really powerful and strong at a moment when there weren't the idea of a character behind a video game was brand new in the industry, and these two characters really rose to the top, and both Lara Croft and Duke Nukem had similar kind of trajectories where there were lots of games and there was lots of exploitation, and both of them were petering out. There was a point where the games just weren't as exciting anymore, and they weren't really bringing new things to the table. We were kind of done with Tomb Raider games, and we were kind of getting done with Duke Nukem games, frankly. But you know what happened that was different between the two? There was a big Lara Croft film with Angelina Jolie, and it was a studio picture. Yep. And then there was another one. And the existence of those films motivated an investment into the franchise as a video game franchise. And look at what Eidos and Crystal Dynamics have been able to do. Whether you like the new ones or not, you have to agree the production values are there and they exist.
Yep.
And they
It
exist.
does.
Yeah, that's true.
And we need that to happen for Duke. And I think this is a great. I think any Duke fan that wants to see a successful future for Duke should try to get behind this film, even if it ends up being 20% on Rotten Tomatoes that makes a lot of Michael Bay money, but might not win any Oscars. There's going to be a lot of value. Tomb Raider didn't win any Oscars, not even close. But you know what? A lot of people discovered the franchise through that film. And it's hard to fight against what Hollywood can do when they bring a real marketing budget that's centered around these real development budgets. I mean, they're going to be really motivated. Paramount's going to be really motivated to make a spectacle. They're going to spend an obscene amount of money developing the film, and then they're going to spend an obscene amount of money marketing it. And that's going to bring attention to Duke. That's going to be good for people like us that want to spend more time with Duke and want great things for Duke in the future.
Long live the king, baby.
Yeah.
And I think one of the cool things about this is if with this project underway, I actually think it increases the chances that we can see a really cool, fan favorite kind of CG linear media. And I think it increases the chances. Like, one of the things that's happening is like what Netflix and Amazon Prime are doing. There could be that series, that more television series, that serialized kind of version that could have maybe a bigger budget and be something that could be
That's
deployed
true.
on a Netflix and be just great. And I think the odds increase
Yeah, that
of
would
that.
be awesome.
I think the odds increase of
That'd be
that in this world. It really helps when the world believes that that's a successful franchise, and it's hard to argue a big blockbuster movie. I mean, we've done comic books, we've done action figures, we've had soundtracks, we've had lots of video games. We need another step to this to help bring Duke back.
That's true. That's true.
Right on, man. Hey, is there anything else you want to talk about, Glenn?
Actually, not.
Cool. Well, hey, that's cool. I just wanted to give you a chance. Hey, and feel free
But
to.
before I go,
Yeah, go ahead.
and that actually goes to Elisa.
Oh.
I rewatched the stream from just before Christmas, the Game of the Year, and I noticed that you had a very hard time not to say Glenmark. But here's a little fun fact. In other Discord channels I'm a member of, literally the first thing people call me is Glenmark.
Oh. Well, there you go.
I love it.
Yeah.
So from now on, you are Glenmark.
You are
Hey,
Glenmark.
Hey,
Glenn from Denmark.
Call in next week. I'll talk to you again, man. Thanks for your call, man.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye,
See ya.
Glenmark.
Bye.
There you go. Glenmark.
That was Glenmark.
That was
All
Glenmark.
right.
It's
Hey,
official.
let's talk to this guy, Paul, handle Wasp. He's calling from Canada
Ooh.
and Newfoundland, and he wants to talk about female characters in the Duke Nukem franchise. So let's get him on the line.
Interesting.
Hey, this is
Get him on the line.
hey, this is Randy.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey, Paul, can you hear
Hey,
me?
what's up?
Sweet. Can you hear John?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
And
Hey,
John
I
too?
can hear the caller.
Hey,
We
all
are-
Yeah, I
right.
can hear him.
We're all together like a big family.
All right, how's it
Nice.
going, eh?
What's
That's Ontario.
what's the weather like up there?
Well,
Are you,
you're
We
Newfoundland,
do
right?
Bye.
You're
We
Newfoundland?
do yes by.
are you
Yeah,
freezing?
yeah, Newfoundland.
Are you totally freezing right now? Like, what's the weather like?
I am. I'm cold.
Oh.
My hand is freezing.
Oh, jeez. Well, go inside. Get by the fire.
Well, I think we all know Duke would have the perfect solution for this.
Yes. What is that?
Yeah, the wholesome twins sitting in my lap, baby.
Well, I think we can agree, reboots now are getting kind of popular. Like, Doom did great.
Yeah.
Like, the
That
new
was
Doom
that was
game.
my 2016 game of the year, by the way. I love Doom.
Yeah, mine too. I completely agree. I had Neo this year, but Horizon got it.
Yeah, I actually went with Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
I didn't play Horizon. I watched my wife play it. She played all the way through, sitting next to me. Looks pretty rad. I
Have
think I
you
might go
tried
for it.
Neo?
I haven't. I need to do that.
Yeah, it's really good.
What platform?
But back to Duke Nukem.
Wait, hold on. Before we get to what
yeah,
platform? What platform should I play Neo on?
Well, my PC sucks. So
Okay.
I would probably say PC, but I played it on PS4.
Okay, and it's NEO.
NIOH, I think.
Oh,
right?
Neo.
Neo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
know what
it's
you're
like
talking
the
about.
feudal
Yeah.
Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'll check that out. All right. Let's talk about Duke, man. The Duke man.
Yeah, but like you guys were talking about, kind of like bringing in a sidekick for Duke, like that kind of keeps him on track with the women.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think Duke is ever going to get on track. Like, I think if there's a woman around to kick his ass every once in a while, that'll do.
Oh, you
but
think it
Duke
should be
is never going to change.
You think it should be a female character to bring him around and get him up?
Yeah, it'd be like Butch and Sundance, but Sundance kicks Butch's ass every once in a while.
I will say this.
Buddy cop film.
I think there's a way. I think there's a way for Duke to both be sex positive and a sex symbol, and for certain women to really want to fuck the dude without him having to be without him having to be a misogynist.
Right.
These things can all coexist.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those can coexist.
Well, he still has that military like aspect, like tough guy. You know what I mean? Like,
sure. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I don't think that like I think
But I think that's
I think
what
it's
everyone
really
loves
I think it's
about
really
Duke.
important for Duke's character. He has to be everybody's hero. Men and women alike. Like, he is not an anti-feminism icon. In fact, he loves women. really loves women. But he doesn't necessarily objectify them. Women.
No, it's really
yeah.
a matter of him evolving, much like James Bond evolved
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Sean Connery
Yes.
slapping, womanizing to,
Yeah.
Pierce Brosnan being just a happy-go-lucky guy.
Now there was a
And there was also wasn't there like a female agent in one of the Brosnan movies as well?
Sure, that's happened from time to time. I mean, look at freaking Pussy Galore if you want to go back even before that.
I would love to see Duke go toe to toe with someone like Jane Lynch's character from Wreck-It Ralph. That sort of like that brass sort of awesome person, or like a Xenia on a top, just like assassin type.
You're
just
talking
sort of
about
go
from
toe-to-toe.
Austin Powers.
From GoldenEye.
Well, with the reboot,
Xenia.
For
Xenia.
the
on the top.
movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
GoldenEye. Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
There's also.
for the movie, like, whoa, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say there's also the character in. I don't know if you saw that Tom Cruise movie that was Groundhog Day in World War II, but in space.
Oh yeah.
Science fiction, Private Ryan, Groundhog Day is what it was.
Yeah.
What was the character's name?
Oh,
She
it was played by Emily
the Valkyrie
Blunt, but I
character.
don't know.
She was
actually someone like
she
Valkyrie from
kicked
Thor Ragnarok.
ass. Yeah.
Would be awesome too.
Yeah, all those are great examples. I'll tell you, there was a character that was at one point imagined as part of the Duke Nukem lore. They called her Bombshell. She's never really was introduced or brought into the lore, but there was a point where she was imagined as being in the lore. I had a backstory, and I'll just share
I love
it.
the name though.
Yeah, I had a backstory that I imagined that we were developing for a project that's long gone. And the idea, I was thinking about Duke's origin, and I won't get into his specific origin, but let's imagine that General Graves discovered him when he was a kid, and it was during some earlier encounter with aliens that was sort of hidden by the government, but that encounter left Duke orphaned and left him having been touched by the encounter in some way, which almost makes him superhuman with respect to the aliens.
Yeah, like genetically, yeah.
Yeah, even beyond genetically, there's just something about his whole being now that
Clearly, his father was killed by aliens.
Yes, yeah, and more than that,
Yeah.
his father and mother, and he saw it, but Graves took him in, and Graves, of course, runs the EDF. Now, Graves had a daughter, and Graves' daughter happened to be the same age as Duke, but they were basically raised like
I see
brother.
where you're going with
They were
this.
raised like brother and sister, but they weren't brother and sister, and they were competitive with one another. And they had different skills, and they were both within the EDF.
Yeah, but be cool and make her like 5 years younger, okay?
Maybe I don't
One's
know.
the lady killer, and
Yeah.
the other one's the Black
I don't know.
Widow.
I don't know what direction that needs to go in, but I know that they both need to hold their own, and they both can give each other shit like only brothers and sisters can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're not actually brothers and
Right.
sisters. So you can get some weird tension in there too. That's fucking weird for both of them.
Sexual
And
chemistry.
it's awkward for both of them because they were raised like brothers and sisters, but they're not. You know. And they both hate
Yeah.
they need to both hate and admire each other.
Yes.
And they need to hate each other on multiple levels and admire each other on multiple levels. Like they should admire each other's skills.
Yeah, but then once they
But
save
also
the
admire
world
each other's-
together, they got to bang.
or maybe maybe not. The other thing I had
Okay.
in one of my I think there's some other places those characters can go, but here's one of the rules, by the way, with sexual tension. If the minute you let what was the minute Sam and Diane fuck,
Oh yeah.
Cheers is over.
Yep.
On Cheers.
Yeah, you can't let them fuck. The series is over. You can't let them fuck. You've got to keep the tension
Yeah,
up.
that's
You
true.
got to keep the tension up. And
Or you bring in Kirstie Alley and you kill it that way.
yeah,
There you
go. There's different ways to keep the tension up. It's not a hard and fast rule. I thought the Big Bang
Right.
Theory was kind of fun. You know for a fact that when he let them, Penny and whatever the guy's name, actually hook up and become a couple, that was his challenge. He's like, I'm going to do it and show that I can create the tension in a different way. And that's when the series became all about Sheldon.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Right.
Now, I don't know if you watch that
Yeah.
series. I watch it
Yeah.
more academically than anything else. I want to learn more about myself. But but there's ways to do it. So I don't want to say it's a hard, fast rule, but you have to be careful about that. Depending on how the tension goes and how dynamic your other characters are and what other things you can bring into play that can leave some different kind of tension up once you let that tension break. But if you let that tension break, you better be done, or you better have a plan. And if we're doing this right, we're not
Right.
done. We're not done. We're going to keep this going. Not that everything has to be a cliffhanger, but the other thought I had was Duke would have a robot sidekick,
Oh boy.
and the robot would be gay.
Oh.
Because I just want to see how Duke deals with that. I also love the idea of a fucking robot that has a both a gender identity and a sexual identity.
And that's also
That's
fresh
cool.
inside the military now as well. Like
Representation.
them opening, like,
Yeah, and I
like
think
like
yeah, and this hero, by the way, this robot needs to be, not like Claptrap. This robot needs to actually be cool and be valuable and be a badass and not be a complete tool.
Yeah.
And I think the robot should be part of the hero path. Like the robot should be able to hold their own in climaxes and stuff. Not that kind.
and a co-op option would always be great too.
That's hard to do.
Put a co-op.
If you're talking about a Duke Nukem game, I had a premise that was really just derived from Duke 3D Co-op, which is everybody's Duke, and there's like Duke clones, and we're all Duke, and there's like the red T-shirt Duke, and the yellow, and the green, and the blue, and everybody's Duke.
But I'd settle for being Duke's sister. That'd
But
be a nice.
but
change of
but
pace.
everybody's Duke.
Everybody's doing.
Right, so and imagine though you can customize your Duke, right? Like it could be a chick,
And I just have a tank top.
just
with
have the tank top, the
suspenders
sunglasses, the
the
crop
buzz
top,
cut.
and
Yeah.
and everybody's Duke,
Everybody's Duke.
and you can just build your own Duke.
Sorry to have to quote The Incredibles on you here, but when everybody's Duke, then nobody will be.
That's true.
Yeah, there's only one.
Yeah,
Good Duke.
I'm only talking about in the context of co-op gameplay. I don't think that's canonical story.
Right.
I'm guessing they're kind of gonna modernize the movie a bit, though.
Well,
like
I mean,
I'd say it'd be like
they're-
Duke gets back from deployment from Afghanistan, and then there's like an alien invasion.
Duke wouldn't be in Afghanistan. He would.
Now, you know what the great thing about Duke Nukem, and Randy, this is something I've told fans for so long now. The great thing about a Duke Nukem game is that Duke does not kill humans.
Yes.
Duke kills aliens.
That's right.
Yeah.
Period.
And you know what's great about that from a ratings point of
I've
view?
always liked that.
You know what's great about that from a ratings point of view? Aliens have no constituents here on
You
Earth.
tell.
Aliens have no constituents. We can kill the fuck out of them and show all the jibs we want, and we can still be teen rated. It's other things that
They
will
are-
get us to the. It's
they
other
are
things
not
that get
among
us
the
to the
dreamers.
M. Yeah, it's other things that get us to the M.
Yeah, it's gonna be nice to see though.
Yeah, no,
how it all turns out.
I don't modernize. Maybe I think I don't think anyone that's going to be behind this picture on the Hollywood side is going to be pleased unless they feel like they can reach a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be their goal. They're going to want to entertain. They're going to want to get butts in seats, and they're going to want to fill those theaters with people having a great time that come out of that theater going, "Holy shit! Have you seen this Duke Nukem movie? Let's go see it again together." Like that's going to be their objective.
Well, I don't know if it's true. I think they said they wanted to have John Cena be Duke Nukem.
Well, that there was a conversation with John Cena and some people on the Hollywood side, and I think somebody leaked that. And it was interesting that got leaked. We weren't expecting that leak to happen. It was really interesting. We got to learn a lot about. I'll tell you what. One thing that was fascinating for me was being able to see and compare Hollywood press with video game press and then with mainstream press. And they were all covering the same story, but they had their own takes. And I'll tell you what, it wasn't flattering for the video game press to see that comparison. I was like, oh, shit. Same story.
Well, even people in the comments say The Rock should play Duke Nukem as well.
Yeah,
and that's
he's obvious. He's that'd be kind of an obvious choice, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Rock's kind of winning right now, and he's been in a lot of things.
He's in everything right now.
I think it'd be hard for him.
You know what? Every time they talk about casting Duke, it keeps coming around to relevant current Hollywood stars.
Yes,
they're not the only men in the world who A, can act, and B, have the physique. How about an unknown? As we were saying earlier, if the script is good enough and they really want to bring it to mainstream, they could find a guy who looks just like frickin' Duke Nukem and make him a star.
Yeah, there's a lot of paths for that. They'll probably want to bank on some box office draw talent, but maybe that's where your sidekick.
They want to sell tickets,
but maybe that's where your sidekick character comes. Yeah, that's where your sidekick character comes in, right? Maybe that's the or the villain.
Yeah,
you get your Hollywood box office draw with your villain. But I'll tell you what, man. I haven't seen John Cena in a lot of things, but I saw him in Trainwreck, and I thought for him to commit to that role in that way, maybe. And then I did after the leak happened, I looked up some of the kind of how he carries himself in interviews and stuff, and he's kind of a likable dude, and I think that could help. Yeah, but it's
so is Dwayne Johnson. They're both very likable fellows.
Absolutely, yeah. But
how do they portray the character
for the role? I think.
Yeah, I'll tell you what though, the real process. As a production team gets assembled, there'll be a casting director, and the casting director will work very closely with the director and the screenwriter, and there'll be a process, and that process will involve the producers and the executive producers on both the studio side and on the production company side. I'm sure I'll have a say in it, but I think it's a little early yet to count on any specific casting. But we'll see. We'll see how this process unfolds. I am not one of my whole strategies in this. Having, at the top of the show, we talked about a couple of the movies, the movie IPs that we made video games out of. Having had that experience and realizing how oftentimes Hollywood people have no freaking idea how video games are made, but when they think they do and they intrude themselves into the process, it can really have a bad effect on the game and make it a struggle to try to deliver a perfectly great experience. Having had that experience myself, I do not want to be that guy in the opposite direction. So these, Paramount Pictures has, as a studio, they have a lot of films under their belt. They know what they're doing. Michael Bay's made a lot of movies. He's produced and executive produced a lot of films. He's directed a lot of films. Platinum Dunes has made a lot of films. These guys know what they're doing much more than I do.
The Friday the 13th remake that he did. Not very many people like that, but I did.
Yeah, I think it made money too. So that's
it did. It made a lot of money.
That's a big metric for success. That's scoreboard. And here's the thing.
That's why I'm surprised there hasn't been another one, especially with the success of the Friday the 13th video game.
There'll be another Friday the 13th. Come on. That's going to happen. It's about prioritization and order of operations and what people are doing and who's going to sign up for what at what time. But, come on, that franchise isn't going anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing is, the haters aren't necessarily the common voice, right? haters can be loud, but
Yeah.
the spectrum of all responses fits on a bell curve, and most people are in the middle of that bell curve, and they're perfectly happy with their experience, but they're not going to ever go on a forum and write something about it, right? Like I can't. I don't think I've ever wrote a message on a message forum in my life, and I love a lot of things, and I hate a lot of things, but I have shit to do. I don't have time, and I think most of us are like that. Most people aren't going to take the time. And so the kinds of people that get on message forums and spend a lot of time there, that's a hobby for them. And that's a unique individual. Like, that's not the common view. That's kind of a skewed view, positive or negative. And
somebody who's really bent about something.
Yeah. They're on the extreme. They're on the edge cases. They're extreme. And I'll tell you what.
Well, I think the potential of a new Duke game is really great too.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt about it.
A new
I've been thinking about that.
I'm sorry, new Duke game? Did I hear new Duke game?
New Duke game.
Yeah, that would be great.
Absolutely. Of course it would. I've been thinking about that for a long time, and I've bounced around. I've met with so many different studios over the past several years, and heard so many pitches, and thought about, talked to so many different designers. It's a very difficult problem. I think there's some answers to the problem. So now I'm worried about financing. I think there is I can see a great Duke Nukem game that should be made. So now it's about financing, and I think frankly, I think this motion picture helps unlock that.
Yeah,
that's good.
Sure.
Yeah. Cool, man. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, that's it.
Hey, well, thanks for your call. I'm going to let you go. And guess what, guys?
It is 6 o'clock.
It is 6 o'clock. The time just flies when you're having fun. Hey, John, it's been awesome having you on the line, man. Thank you so much for calling in and being on the show.
Oh, well, thank you very much. And, thanks for keeping Duke alive, man.
Hey, I feel like I owe my whole career to Duke. And, it's the first.
So do I.
The first commercial video game product I ever worked on. I think it might have been yours too, right?
It actually was.
Yeah, and look what it did for us. It really helped. It certainly helped put me on the map and created a lot of opportunities for me. And I think the same's true for you. And it's fun to keep working together on this stuff. So we got to keep it going, baby.
It is. Bring me back to Frisco, baby.
Let's do it. We got something going on that I want to talk to you about.
I'm always ready.
We got something going on that I want to talk to you about.
You got it.
That we got some people involved
with.
Okay. It's not as big as a whole big new game, but I think a lot of the existing Duke Nukem fans are going to be really, really pleased with this effort.
I'm sure it entails fun, so I'm in.
That's right, man. All right. Hey, thanks for your call. Thanks for everybody for listening in. We have successfully completed another episode of At Nerdvana Live. We will be back next week. Signing off.
Hi, I have been Elisa.
And I've been Randy, and we'll see you next week.